is Paddy's Flat on the table. That's sitting there doing nothing. A couple of Great Boulder drill bits, mate. Might go handy there.
Probably fair to say I've asked about 3 times already, mate. I'd have to say no, it's not on the table, but I'd love to own it. I mean, our team actually live on that mining lease at the old Paddy's camp.
Yeah, now make sure they don't fire up a drill rig after a few beers late at night or anything. You might find something.
This is general advice and my opinions only. This episode's company has paid me for this interview. I may be long, short, or hold an interest in stocks or CFDs mentioned. Past performance isn't reliable. The interviewee's views are their own, not necessarily mine. LEVRD operates as a corporate authorised representative 00131 8377 under AFSL 548573. You can find our financial services guide via the LEVRD website link in the show notes.
Righto, bag holders and stop loss owners. Don't worry about the bloody Regis and Vault merger. We've got a bigger deal to talk about here. Great Boulder acquiring Peak Hill, which come out yesterday. The big dogs are trying to top you, Pato, but I've still given it the attention it deserves, mate. Great Boulder MD, Andrew Paterson. Welcome to LEVRD, mate.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, mate. How's the sleep tally going after all this?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it was a pretty early night last night, and a few more to come, I reckon. It's been pretty intense, but good to have it done.
Yeah, very good, mate. Right, take us through. I got it up on the screen here. What have you bought? What has Great Boulder acquired?
Yeah. Well, this has been something we've been a sort of opportunity we've been looking for about 18 months now, and really happy with this one. I really think this fits the bill. You know, it gives us that opportunity for transformation of the business from being a purely exploration focused company, and we had been pivoting more towards development for about 18 months, and now this is really the opportunity we've been looking for. So what it gives us is, you know, at face value, we've got a resource there in the order of 500,000 ounces and a bunch of granted mining tenure anchored together by a surrounding exploration license. And it's only 100 kilometres from Sidewell, so regionally there's synergies there. And importantly, there's 2 agreements bolted to it. Obviously, the ore purchase agreement, which gives us immediate access to Westgold's milling infrastructure. And also behind that, the collaboration agreement for Sidewell, which will provide opportunity to try and fast track development at Sidewell also. So the asset itself, we think this is an absolute belter of an asset that's been sitting there, no mining for nearly 30 years, and for various reasons, you know, probably hasn't got the attention it deserved. And we think with our team, you know, we've got a really good exploration team that we can put onto this immediately and focus on Peak Hill as well as pushing Sidewell at the same time. I think we'll really start to kick some goals up there pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I'll bring up what you've actually paid for it. So it's 25 million cash, which is a 2-tranche placement that you're undertaking. 40 mil at 8 cents, was it?
8.5.
8.5, sorry. And look, obviously, first we'll bring up the market's obviously liked it. You're up 20% today, so you're one of the few companies that's trading above the offer of a raise price at the moment in this market. So well done there, mate. So the 25 mil cash, you've got Westgold coming on as a 19.9% shareholder of Great Boulder and a 1% royalty. So 58 million bucks. With all that for a bit under 500,000 ounces. So I guess everyone says, oh, they're paying over $100 an ounce. But is this more from the lens that, as you said, you needed something like this and Westgold to come on board, the ore purchase, a bit of a pathway to mining to give you that re-rate? Were you a bit stuck, you'd say, without something like this?
Yeah, frankly, I mean, I think it's reasonably obvious that the negotiation of the mining agreement at Sidewell has taken longer than we had hoped, and I know that's frustrating for our shareholders and personally frustrating for me that we haven't got there yet. We are very close, and I can't really discuss those details because it's kind of confidential with the Aboriginal group. But fair to say we were looking for something to bolt on and in January, we relinquished our exploration option over the Palel project to the southwest. So that kind of freed us up in terms of our team, the ability to take on more ground. And the other thing, in terms of the transaction price, on a cost per ounce basis, we put out an exploration target for this, which is based on existing data, which we see as an opportunity to get this up to 1 million ounces fairly quickly, which would change Great Boulder from a 1 million ounce explorer to a 2 million ounce near-term producer, and that's a whole different ball game. So we're pretty excited about that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and I assume this is good for both sides. The only way to sort of get this over the line was Westgold coming on as 19.9% shareholder, because this sales process has been going on for a while, to my knowledge, through Argonaut, and I know there was a lot of interesting parties, and this seems to make a lot of sense. And look in your deck talking about, and it looks like this might be complementary to the Bluebird expansion plan, and hence the collaboration agreement. So is it would you say it's a bit necessary for both sides?
Yeah, look, I mean, out of due respect for Westgold, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think it is a win-win outcome, and you're exactly right. It's not only, Peak Hill's not in their mine plan. They stated that in their announcement yesterday, and so it kind of by default puts it back into their mine plan, in the sense that we'll dig it up and put it through their mill. But also Sidewell, I think, is potentially a big benefit for Bluebird Mill, because if they want to expand it and Sidewell can provide them with 10 years base feed while they're supplementing that with underground feed, then they can expand it. And as you know, Matty, underground mines are all constrained by how many tonnes you can get out the hole, out the portal or shaft, as the case may be. So they don't have really that much elasticity of supply coming out of the underground mines, and an open pit gives them a lot more flexibility in that respect.
Yeah. Okay. So first cab off the rank, I assume you got two options, and you might be doing both in parallel, and you alluded to it at the start. You've got potential mining ready or close to mining at Peak Hill, but you've got the ability to expand the resource as well with your existing cash. Like, what's the initial focus, and I guess what do you think the shareholders are going to want to see? Are they going to want to see revenue quick? You got the OPA ready to go, you can send it to Westgold, or are you looking, is there more upside initially in some resource growth, because it's been a bit underloved, Peak Hill?
Yeah, it has. I mean, Westgold done some really good work there, but they have a small team that's spread across a very large tenure. So, they really like the project, but they haven't had time to focus on it much. But really the priority, so the next 6 months after this transaction goes through the process, after our EGM in June, we're aiming to hit the ground running with about 6 months drilling and at least 40,000 metres. A lot of that will be RC into the existing resources, and some near mine targets like that Golden Treasure area, which is like a really exciting exploration target just next to Jubilee. So 6 months, 40,000 metres, smash out a resource update on everything by the end of the year. It's a pretty aggressive timeline. At the same time, we'll be doing about 20,000 metres at Sidewell, so 60,000 overall. But to put that into context, we're drilling at about 10,000 metres a month right now. So it's kind of reallocating resources rather than speeding up. So we will be growing the team. It also gives us about 6 months to start bringing in the technical skills that we need, so particularly mining engineering, project management to start with, then mine builders, and start getting into the approval space in 2027, looking to start mining in the latter half of 2027, delivering ore into the IPA by the end of next year.
Yep. Yeah, cool. So I like an analyst call here because I respect the commercial sensitivity of the OPA, and obviously you can't speak on behalf of Westgold, so I'll ask these questions accordingly. Looking at this slide here, you talk about treasure next to Jubilee, and you look at some of the hits and the depth, like, old hits, 10 metres at 18 grams from 19 metres, so 19 at 13 from 104. So we're talking open pit opportunities. Westgold predominantly process underground dirt through their existing Murchison facilities, besides the new Murchison dirt that gets sent there. So is a big focus going to be establishing open pit opportunities on these sites to provide oxide feed to the Westgold mills?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see that, that's very much a priority near term. Is firstly, a lot of this existing drill database is pretty shallow. So therefore the existing resources are fairly shallow. Getting that ship shape ready for mining for open pit, starting with oxide feed, and that really fits nicely into Westgold's blend. So if you look at the last quarterly reports from New Murchison and Westgold, the New Murchison were putting ore in there at an annualised rate of about 500,000 tonnes, which got Westgold's Bluebird mill up to an annualised rate of about 1.9, which is above nameplate capacity. So they're really enjoying that softer oxide feed going into Bluebird, and obviously we would look to replicate exactly that, basically. Yeah,
and so we're in the DD process for this. What was the big draw card? Like which areas of this Peak Hill you like? This is potential early wins, potential mining, potential profit.
Well, yeah, probably a number of aspects. So, like in one regard, the 5 resources there were all reported at relatively high cutoff grades and relatively low gold prices. So, there is theoretically, and I'll say this as an aspirational statement, I don't want to get into trouble, but theoretically, there's an opportunity to recut those existing resources at a higher gold price. And, say that those were reported between 2,000 and 2,600 Australian dollars. Now, if we were to apply 5,000 Australian dollars to a fairly shallow drill data set, you're going to assume that you would capture a fair proportion of those ounces. So that's one aspect. That was kind of, I guess, an immediate, perhaps an aha moment when we got the data. The other thing is these pits haven't been mined since 1997. It was active as an open pit mining centre from 1988 to 97. And, if you're, like me, I was a mine geologist in 1997, jobs were getting few and far between. The gold price was only heading down, through to 2001. It was quite a long, slow downturn. So seeing an opportunity in those kind of, something that closed in that kind of environment, suggests that it's worth a second look. And then thirdly, the amount of high-grade hits in the drill database, a lot of them we've chosen not to publish because they're older stuff that's harder to validate. But there's so many targets there for a good exploration company that, we're kind of itching to get stuck into it.
Yeah. How are you looking to approach it with, I know it's early days, but you've got a new board member, which is historically from Macca, contractor background. What are you thinking about the mining approach? There's a lot of hybrid models out there these days that are, I guess, helping companies, with cash flow and taking the pressure off going to the equity markets to fund these things. And if you're, thinking about starting mining ready within 12 months, it's probably going to be in the planning phase pretty soon. How are you looking at it at the moment?
Yeah, so, well, this is just my personal opinion because, we haven't done any work on this in terms of cash flow forecast or anything sensible. But my opinion is those kind of shared ownership models, like a BML type agreement, I don't really fancy that approach. I would rather a traditional owner-contractor relationship. I kind of like the idea that there's there are professional services companies now in Australia where you can kind of hire a bolt-on technical team, so you don't have to employ your own engineers and geos and surveyors and so on. But we will remain owners of the asset, and we'll take the risk and we'll take the profit, and we'll run the operation. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got in mind.
Yep. Before we get on to Sidewell, so like this collaboration agreement with Westgold, I'll head back to it here. Is that going to be applied to Peak Hill? Like this is Westgold's a 20%, 19.9% shareholder now. The dirt coming out of Peak Hill in the future is going to go to their mill. They make a good lick off an ore purchase agreement, which is the game to be in these days. Is that going to apply to fast tracking dirt out of Peak Hill at all?
No, simply because both companies are focused on fast tracking that anyway. So
yeah.
I think that's pretty well sorted. It's really looking at how the two companies can help each other to advance Sidewell. So, things like local community relationships, what they call their contractor ecosystem, which is, for example, things like haulage companies, some of their existing site infrastructure, which may or may not include camps, flights in and out. Things like camps at the moment are really strategic because Meekatharra is actually full. Like if you want to drive to Meeka and get a hotel room tomorrow, you probably can't. It is that busy. And so having camp beds available is actually a big deal. If you want to put more people on the ground, they've got to have somewhere to live. So that sort of stuff's really useful in the short term. Potentially using their technical team to do analysis of pit scenarios and stuff like that. We haven't really explored what that looks like, but that is in the agreement. It's in effect a corporate hug where the two companies have agreed to share information and share skill sets and help each other move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can, just expanding on like the benefit that Westgold might bring to progressing this to Sidewell towards getting a mining lease granted is like, and how the TOs work in the area. Is it the same traditional owners that Westgold are dealing with at their existing assets in the region? Is that how it all works?
Oh, well, they actually deal with three groups. This is one of them, yeah. So like their Paddy's Flat operation, obviously that's in mothballs at the moment, but that's it with this group. Meeka Metals are dealing with them. Everybody east of the Great Northern Highway in that area is inside the native title claim of this group. So yeah, Westgold employs some of these people from the community. They have relationships with them that go back, many years, and that could be good kind of, I don't know, almost like wisdom, if you like, for us in our negotiation.
Yeah, and I assume the ownership structure of Sidewell with Great Boulder owning 80% of the asset, the other 20% owned. That's nothing involved in this transaction. Everything's staying the same at this stage.
Yeah. So, well, part of it's 75%.
75. I knew I'd get it wrong.
With Scott Wilson from Cal, and Scott. He's got about 40 years history in the Meeka area, and strangely enough, he's got some interest in Peak Hill as well, because he actually cut his teeth as a prospector on the Golden Treasure area at Peak Hill. So I was talking to him this morning, and he's got a lot of history. He's kind of involved everywhere. He's a great guy. I don't know where I was going with that actually, but
he'll come in handy effectively.
We would like to roll up Scott's 25%, in the next near term, but that's a conversation we have to have with him. He's doing well. He's been a great supporter. He buys a lot of shares on market, and he looks after us. We look after him.
That might be him buying today.
Well, some of it's actually me. I bought a few this morning. I didn't take any shares in the placement. I wanted to buy on market. So, yeah, bought a few this morning.
Oh, mate, hopefully, you know how the world works. Hopefully you get repaid for doing the right thing. Sometimes the world doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So to confirm, Peak Hill's 100% beneficial ownership is Great Boulder. Scott hasn't got, he's just got a historical interest in the area.
Oh, he's got 15% of the exploration license, and it's all in the table, actually, in the back of that Prezzo. But yeah, there's a bunch of the M's that are 100%. I think two of them are 15% with Scott, and one of them is 15% with Horseshoe Gold Mines Proprietary Limited, which is a subsidiary of Great Resources.
Okay, so most of the near-term mining options, are they all 100% Great Boulder?
Yep.
Okay, so but it's the exploration ones, and are those the exploration ones that you don't own 100% of? They're very further down the pipeline with conversion into an M and exploration. Is that right?
I couldn't say yet. You know, we'll sort of be assessing all of that in the next 6 months. I'm pretty sure we'll be putting in some more mining lease applications, and so looking at that list, for example, M52, 35 and 56, they're both pre-native title mining leases, so that they're quite old.
Yep.
And they encompass the Peak Hill mine itself, and Jubilee, you know, some of those central areas. And then, yeah, there's that 801, the Horseshoe Gold Mines one, that's the southern end, that includes the Durack deposit, which actually looks pretty good. So we'll be considering all of that and prioritise accordingly. We're not kind of scared of joint venture interests, but we'll take all that into account as we work out what the priorities are.
Yeah, right. So let's hypothetically say the Sidewell mining lease gets granted, and that's, you know, you've been exploring there for a while, and 1 million ounces contained there, and it's, you know, a big project that obviously Westgold are going to need. That's ready to go. Which assets, how do you rate the Peak Hill versus Sidewell if you're going to go for mining opportunities? To talk about the differences in the assets to me, where the benefits are.
Yeah, I guess, so at Sidewell, you know, we'll continue building the resource base as we head south. We're looking to get that up to 1.5 million ounce resource base. And, you know, continue growing that. At the same time, we're still doing the deep drilling at Mulga Bill. So yeah, that long section there, you know, those red and pink dots down around the 500 metre depth mark. We're continuing on that program, but they won't come into the resource anytime soon because they're just so deep. But they kind of illustrate the longer term potential. So if you're thinking 5 or 10 years time, you could easily have 1 to 2 million ounces just there, because that's a bloody big deposit. You know, that long section you're looking at there is 2.5 kilometres long.
Yep.
Relatively shallow drill, particularly at the Eagle Hawk end. We've got 780,000 ounces in resource just in that one area. If you project that down another 200 or 300 metres vertically, you've got a pretty sizable deposit. So that's kind of the longer term underground future. What we're concentrating on for the next 6 months to 2 years is really that open pit stuff. So Ironbark, first cab off the rank, just because that's been ready for the longest. But a lot of these other targets we'll bring into the resource base going forward. Compare that to Peak Hill right now. You know, say we drill like buggery for the next 6 months and we get 1 million ounces by the end of the year, then we'll sit back at that point and reevaluate both projects and say, right, you know, which one needs the most drilling? Where do the priorities lie? How does that fit into our strategy of putting tonnes through the mill? So we want to be moving Peak Hill towards mining, approvals and digging, and Sidewell will continue down its path and hopefully be getting close to the same point. Now, if in 18 months' time we had both projects ready to start mining, then it would be realistic to think, you know, Bluebird probably won't have been expanded in 18 months' time. So how much capacity does Bluebird have, and where can we process that dirt? It all will be fed into the Westgold ecosystem, but there are still unknowns in terms of mill availability. So we're happy for Peak Hill to take the lead and be pushing that through Bluebird. We'll put tons into Fortnum if we can, but it's a smaller mill, and at the moment it's full. Fortnum's operating very well. Yeah, it remains to be seen. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge before we have to make that decision.
What about the differences in geology? Now, mining engineer speaking to a geologist here, so don't take any offence to what I say from my low base, Pato, but Mulga Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, has a lot of sort of cross-cutting ore bodies going in sort of different directions. Like there's it's not didn't appear to be sort of a standard sort of gold vein system that you see. Is Peak Hill possibly a bit simpler on the geology and how everything's laid out?
Yeah. Oh, look, I think that plan that you got on screen now is a good example. There's definitely cross-cutting features in there. It looks pretty simple, but I'm sure there's extra complexity, and in fact, in the complexity is opportunity for us. We'll get some diamond holes in there, figure out those orientations, and start to optimize the drill angles. But one thing that we realised fairly early on in the due diligence phase was that Peak Hill, there's a lot of shallower dipping mineralisation, and from an open pit perspective, the strip ratios are actually really low. So even if you do mine it at 1.6 or 2 grams a tonne, the strip ratios are surprisingly low, and you can potentially generate some pretty robust open pits from that kind of stuff. Whereas, like looking at Ironbark, it's a standard tabular ore body dipping in about 70 degrees. So if you get any sizable pit out of that, you'd be looking at strip ratios of maybe 10 or thereabouts is kind of an old rule of thumb, or perhaps higher if it gets skinny. So there's a whole bunch of variables. Ironbark's a nice high grade. You'd probably be mining that at 3 grams ideally, and the grade of Peak Hill remains to be seen. However, historic underground mining back in the early days was over 14 grams a tonne, and the open pit mining in the 90s was around 3 grams a tonne. So it's not a low grade field by any means.
Very much so, right. You've probably explained it in the deck in a bit before. So you're going to have 25 mil cash pro forma. Is most of that going into Peak Hill straight up, or are you going to be parallel still advancing any drilling at Side Well, or the focus is going to be Peak Hill initially?
Oh, that'll be the main focus, but on a rough proportion, it'll be about 2/3 Peak Hill, 1/3 Side Well, and roughly 40,000 metres at one and 20,000 at the other. So that's approximately the speed we're drilling today. So just a reallocation of priorities.
Yeah. What level of study are you going to have to put out to get mining at Peak Hill? And what is there anything in place already that you can help fill in the Word doc, or? There's some old approvals in place, and we'll have to update all them. So basically, redo them. Level of study, we probably won't worry about doing scoping studies anymore. I think the scoping study on Ironbark was interesting, but corporately it was a bit of a waste of time. I think it makes more sense to go straight to pre-feasibility and start to de-risk the projects and build certainty in what we've got. It does look like a low capital kind of opportunity. So obviously we don't need to build a mill. There's already haul roads largely in place with miscellaneous licenses over them. So a lot of that kind of pre-work infrastructure is already there. So, you could technically get into a lot of these opportunities for a very small amount of money. And I think one of your earlier questions was, how far will this funding go? We're not actually saying that it'll get us right into production, but it should get us to where we know exactly how far we've got left. And it'll be the resource update, initial studies, hitting those targets and getting into the approval space where we're just about ready to start digging a hole. Yeah, right. So is it just the the only approvals you'll need with the granting mining leases is it because you're not processing there. Is it that mine, the closure plan? Is that the main NGCP? Is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've just got to organise. You'll be doing the crushing on site and the hauling yourself to Westgold's mills.
Yeah, so pretty much looking to replicate the new Murchison model, which is, I think I've been told, I haven't been out there yet, but at Crown Prince they have some sort of a mobile crusher on site, which is, you know, low capex and flexible. Crushing and sampling on site. This is a good thing about the OPA is you crush and sample your material prior to delivery. You take 3 sets of samples, one for us, one for Westgold, and one for the umpire. You know, this is a kind of a system that's been in place for years and years around WA. They do sampling during mining. Each bench they take samples for leach testing, so you know what the metallurgy is going to be in the mill, and then they weigh it twice with a weightometer on the conveyor belt and a weightometer on the truck loader. So, you know, by the time it gets to the Westgold mill, you know exactly how many ounces you're going to get out of it. So it's fully transparent and you get paid immediately on that basis, which is kind of nice.
Yeah,
no argument.
I can imagine. Any historical metallurgical data that indicates it's going to be easy to process that's come with the project?
Yeah, as you'd imagine, given the dates, it's pretty old data. We'll be redoing it all, but nothing out of the ordinary at all there. There's no history of any met problems at Peak Hill. Obviously, it's been mined for over 100 years, so it's a pretty good history.
Yeah, too easy. You're chasing any workers, mate? I might just put myself into the recruitment business here. If you've got any positions available, now that you've come on, now would be the time to plug them. I'm cheaper than Seek.
Yeah, well, no, seriously, the first technical role I reckon is going to be a study manager. You know, probably that person will probably morph into a chief mining engineer sort of position and start building the team from there. So we are, literally in the next 6 months, we'll be looking for a bunch of people.
Very good. Anyone that gets in touch, make sure you drop my name. I'll get a buddy. I'll suck a referral out of you somehow, mate. Mate, congrats to you and the team, mate. You got an exciting time ahead. I know you've been plugging away at many opportunities, and glad finally one's come your way. So get those next couple of sleeps in, mate, because you're not getting many for the next 12 months, I don't think.
No, that's right. And the sooner we get more people on to help myself and Stefan, the chief GO, the better. I think we both need to catch up on a bit of sleep. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a great opportunity. It's been good fun.
Yep. To close off, mate, if you can give any insight into this process, were you pretty close? Only just got the deal, or were there plenty interested, or was it you're a shoe-in from the start, do you think?
Oh, honestly, it was very professionally run, and so I can tell you hand on heart, I've got no idea. So,
oh, God, that's boring, isn't it?
But, yeah, I did. I mean, just between you and me and your viewers, Matty, I had a cup of coffee with Wayne Bramwell a month or so ago about something entirely different, but of course it was a good opportunity to quiz him on this process, and he said they were keen to bring other juniors into the mix into their orbit, and I think they saw Great Boulder. I have said before we're one of the best explorers in WA, and they kind of see that as an advantage for them. And a team of kind of good performers that can help them get the best out of their assets as well. So, that's a nice relationship to have, basically.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, really. Looking from the outside in, is Paddy's Flat on the table? That's sitting there doing nothing. That's a big historic mine. A couple of Great Boulder drill bits, mate, might go handy there.
Probably fair to say I've asked about 3 times already, mate, and I'd have to say no, it's not on the table, but I'd love to own it. I mean, our team actually live on that mining lease at the old Paddy's camp, so yeah, we'd be pretty happy to own Paddy's Flat. It's Westgold core asset, so it's not going to become ours anytime soon.
Yeah, now make sure they don't fire up a drill rig after a few beers late at night or anything. You might find something. Mate, again, congrats, mate. Thanks for coming on Levered, and that was a good overview. I got plenty out of that, so I reckon all the punters would have as well. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for your time, Matty. Appreciate it.
And as always, punters, thanks to the Dosh sponsor, the Toad, the Canetoad. Link in the show notes to the 3D drill hole visualising software that will change your life. Thank you very much.